This is 102.6 The Situation. Connected around the world at 1026thesituation.com.
Androgynous, having the characteristics or nature of both male and female. For the next several minutes, relax and retool your mind to take in the androgynous energy. Now, your hosts, Coach Lanell and Coach Jarvis.
Welcome in, Androgynous Energy. Hello, good people. I missed y'all. Glad to be back in the building. So I know it's not usually me introing, but my partner in crime is not in the studio with me right now. I know. Don't be sad. He may call in later, and we're going to just implement him into the conversation. But welcome in. Glad to have y'all. I hope y'all been listening the last couple weeks. I know we had an extended episode. So today is just another beautiful day in the A, as we already know. We in the A. It's nice out today. We got summer flowing, and I know y'all hot, y'all. I hope y'all got central air wherever you listening at, because it's hot all over right now. We got to learn how to survive without this AC if we have to, But I'm so glad to have y'all today. Androgynous energy. We discuss masculine and feminine energy, and it's the feminine energy leading tonight. What do they call it? The soft life. Women will be talking about they want to live the soft life. I know that's kind of trendy lately, but the soft life really is about being in a feminine energy. But, everything is a catchy kind of slogan in the new generation. So, soft life, translation, tap into your feminine energy, young ladies. So I got a little message that I get. It's a short version of a longer message, so I'm going to just share what I got today. The universe is confirming what you already knew, that the plot twist was that your trauma would turn into your growth, that your difficulties would become abundance, that your anxiousness would become memories of a life that once was. So, even if you're in the middle of these transitions, know that each new day is an opportunity to continue sliding towards all the things you not only deserve but earned. They're not just a privilege but a right of your existence to live peacefully and abundantly through all things. What you think about that, Rob? We got Rob in the building.
Absolutely. Good evening, everybody out there in the land of energy. And thank you so much for having me on another great episode of Androgynous Energy. Really appreciate that. So there's a journey with all of that. And that is true beyond measure. Energy is transferred. So the energy transfer is it's so interesting. When you speak on a journey that you're on, you have to go through certain steps. And those certain steps, you have to just kind of go through it slowly. And once you go through it slowly and you see that you're on the right track and you're going to get the signs, you start walking into that excellence and a lot of things that come to you that you probably didn't even think of was in the bag. And you just walk right into it. It's almost like the saying, it fell in your lap. And you may not have asked for it, but you may have asked for it in an energy space. You may have asked for it, but you didn't verbally ask for it. So yes. I've been running into that. But how about you? What do you think?
Yeah, you definitely, we through our thoughts and our words and our actions, we bring things forth to our life. So, them words ain't the only source that bring things into your life, good, bad, and indifferent.
Yeah, absolutely.
We already got to be consciously aware of that. And, this was talking about your trauma turned into your growth, where people are like, you just want to run away from the trauma. You don't want to deal with the trauma. It causes depression and anxiety and sadness and disappointment and shame. And it's like no one would believe that those things would turn into something for growth for them, but it truly is. It's like each aspect of our lives kind of was already outlined, right? So when we get to a crossword road of an experience, we make a choice, and sometimes we make a choice and it take us down a road, and then the trauma don't happen right there, but you keep making these choices on this road, and now down the road, here's the trauma experience that you didn't expect to have. But as you start to, I would say, heal through it, because any trauma, depending on each individual's level of tolerance, any trauma is going to shift you, how you feel, how you react, how you're living your life, how you view life and your experiences and the possibilities of what could come. But taking that trauma and really healing from it through multiple ways. Like I always tell y'all, like I'm a spiritual counselor and a meditation coach, right? So you can be coached and you could be counseled, right? But sometimes you need one of each. And then you also need to be maybe working out, or you also need to be painting because you enjoy that, or making jewelry, whatever it is that bring you some peace of mind. Like when I go walking, I do like 2 to 3 miles a day, at least 5 or 6 days a week. And when I go walking, I literally forget about everything and I laugh, because when I'm not walking, I think about the moment. I'm like, dang, I don't think about nothing when I'm walking, but when I'm in it, I'm so present in it.
Yeah.
I'm literally not thinking about anything, and it is the most peaceful space to be in. It's like a walking meditation.
Right.
Even though there's people around, you're not thinking about any of the things.
You're not worried about none of that.
Not at all. You don't even care. It's like you just in a zone. You in your own little vibe, right? And I walk outside in nature.
And it's interesting that you say that, because that was one thing that, in speaking of myself, you stated that you have walks, peaceful walks, and you're in a zone. You don't worry about anything around you but what is going on in your peace, right? I didn't do that before. I was always running around here, there, and everywhere, to where there wasn't, it felt like peace, but it wasn't really peace.
Yeah.
And you have those times in your journey where it appears as peace, but you're not at peace. There's a big difference between the two.
Oh, yeah.
What I did differently, and as my coach is, my coach is Coach Jarvis, who filling in for today. He told me, try something different.
Yes.
Try something different. And it resonated with me. The try something different was get into a routine of getting time for yourself and not neglecting yourself.
Absolutely. That's most important.
It is most important. And unfortunately, I had to learn it the hard way. And I'm not trying to make it about me, but I wanted, and it's really touching on what you're speaking about. Yeah,
definitely. So I know exactly where you're coming from.
And this is coming from full transparency. There are some things I will say on the air, and there's a lot of things I won't say on this air.
Sure.
Because it's family. But what I will say is this, in relative to the topic this evening, the one thing that I needed to do differently was think of me.
Yeah, that's interesting that you brought that up, because I've been having this conversation with people over the last week and a half.
Wow.
And these are all the people that are close to me, friends that I consider family, with really, 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 really large hearts, expansive hearts,
that would
from
be me.
Chakra space, and they just givers.
Spot on.
And they're not getting anything recycled back in. And they also put people in front of them all of the time. So these people are now worn out, worn down.
I did that.
And it's not, if you never get reciprocity, which is what human beings need in order to feel refueled by energetically through their relationships with people. If you have, it's kind of like a dependency in a sense, because your big heart needs people to support.
That's facts.
And those people come to you because your heart is open enough to support them, right?
Exactly.
But you also have to put boundaries around it so that you allow yourself to just be with yourself, to do something exclusively for you, whether you're by yourself or not. It's important to nurture yourself, because if no one else is doing it, if you're always the giver, when do you receive?
Whew. Talk to him.
Because you need that. We're not supposed to just give. As a healer, I don't give just of my energy. I have to bring in the divine. And when I heal, the divine comes through me. Right. And I'm not drained. Matter of fact, when I'm doing healings, I get charged up when I'm done with the healing, where you think you'd be drained. You're only drained if you're only using the source of yourself to give. Right. The divine is given to me. I'm given to this person, and it cycles, right? That person now gets a healing, and they go and give back to somebody else. So that's like the reciprocity of it all. But if I was just giving of only my spiritual energy, I would be absolutely drained. I would have no joy in seeing people being healed.
It's almost like you were robbing yourself of that energy, because you're pouring in, and you're not getting your cup refilled.
Exactly.
And your cup has now, emptied out, and you're
dehydrated.
You are absolutely dehydrated. You are done. That's where your burnout comes into play.
That's where the sickness comes into play.
Yes.
The physical ailments come into play.
Disease.
Your mind is playing tricks on you, because you're like, well, I want to give. I want this person to be better. But it tells you that it doesn't require you to be better to help the next person. And that's not the truth. It is literally like they say on the plane, put your mask on first before assisting others. Because if you can't breathe, how you going to help the next person breathe?
Exactly.
It's like when you're the head of the household.
Right.
And for women and men who are in relationships with someone who's the head of the household, give them a damn break, y'all. Like, whether they running, I'm just saying, I've done it, ran the household. Like, you need a break. You need that support to come from whoever your partner is. If you're the head of the household, that person should do things to cultivate a space for you to relax as well. Mm-hmm. I get some people don't take on more responsibility in a relationship, but the person that's doing the heavy lifting, sometimes they just need a little support or a little care, because it's pulling from them all the time. And in their mind, they have to stay in that leadership role. They have to stay in the forefront of everything. They got to stay on top of everything. Don't worry, I got it. One day you should tell them, don't worry, I got it. Yeah. Even in the small things, right? So we as human beings have a responsibility to help support each other in that. Right. But again, some of those relationships of I give only and I receive only, people think that's a match made in heaven. It is not. It is not. Nope. Because you both gonna be drained. The person that always wants something gonna be taken until your well gonna be so dry, the grass gonna be growing up out of it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And it's interesting when you said support, even a building, even this building can't withstand winds or anything else, natural disasters or anything like that. This building can't withstand any of nature's forces without support beams.
That's right.
So if a building can't stand without support beams, then what makes you think you can stand without a support system?
Yeah. I mean, people feel like, oh, I could be alone. I don't need nobody. I don't blah, blah, blah. You may not want someone in the sense of, okay, maybe you don't want to be in a committed relationship, but you need people.
You sure do.
You need people. Because when it goes wrong, you call somebody. You reach out to somebody.
You got a best friend.
Financial talks, whether it's nutrition, whatever, a roof over your head, a ride somewhere. You need people.
You do.
You can't say you don't need no one. We all need someone.
Somebody says that. It's trauma. Yes, that's right. Yes. Your trauma triggers.
Trauma triggers. And everything about trauma, as challenging as it is in the moment, when you experience and you like put it in this little your back pocket or back compartment in the back of your brain, it comes back up. So when it comes back up and you have that trauma response, if you paying attention to yourself, you're like, holy crap, what was that? And then you sit back and try to figure out, after you've calmed down, why did I go crazy like that based on whatever the case may have been? And it gives you time to step back and say, oh my gosh, this feels like I'm just telling y'all, this is how I experienced it. It was one of those, and it took a while. I'm not saying this happens overnight, but it's like, oh my God, why did I even react like that? That was out of control. Like, where was I? Because now I'm back, right? For the trauma got triggered.
Yeah.
You're outside of yourself, and then boom, when you calm down, you come back and you're trying to figure out what's going on. Yeah. So I just had to start watching myself and paying attention and being aware.
You know what's so interesting? A lot of people, especially in the African American community, they call it, I just blacked out.
Right. Not normal.
That is not normal, because if you blacked out, you're on the ground. You're not blacking out fighting people. You just went off.
Yeah.
And
it's like a snapping of something.
Yeah. You were triggered by something. Someone pulled that trigger, and you didn't know how to stop and think.
No, because
you didn't know how to take a pause. Right. You just went off, and whenever you felt like you were done, you were done. And when somebody asks you why, you say, man, I don't know what happened. I just blacked out. Did you really black out, or did you get triggered? Yeah. So a lot of people use that as a kind of like okay, I'm not going to call it I was triggered, because if I say it's a trigger to me, then that means people are going to ask me what's wrong with me. So I don't want anybody to ask what's wrong with me, because that's not their business. So I'm just going to say I blacked out for a second. Right. And I just didn't know what came over me, and then just leave it at that. But there's a deeper issue.
And that's for the people who do know. There's some people who just don't know. So the dialogue within their unit and their environment was, they saw somebody black out, and they said, man, I blacked out and spazzed out and went ham on the dude, or whatever the case may be. Right. So growing up, you heard it a lot. So you incorporate that vocabulary into your life. So if you don't understand what triggered is, or what, trauma response is, then it's like a lack of knowledge, that you don't have no wisdom with a lack of knowledge. You need that knowledge to apply, and it becomes wisdom. But if you don't know, you just don't know. So it's just named differently throughout the English language, like what we do with multiple things. But it's like educating people, like, that's not a blackout. That's a trigger, and something snapped because it went back to, and it's not the current experience that's causing the trigger. Right. It's a older experience, and then because you got exposed to something that looked similar, like that experience, is why it is happening. The reaction portion of it happens.
Absolutely. And I actually, that brings up a question. So a lot of people in our community don't know the difference between those particular triggers, trauma triggers, or what have you, or a real blackout. Could we educate the people on what is the difference between all of those? Because there are clear differences between those. They look similar, but they're definitely totally different aspects.
Sure. Like, just to kind of bring it around, like, trigger, you can relate that to similar like a gun or a slingshot, where, let's say a slingshot where you have something in it, you have to pull it all the way back, right? For it to propel forward. To me, that's what a trigger does. It's something that happened back here, like the slingshot, something that causes it to release, and it goes flying, and that's like where the emotions, like a bow and arrow, like a gun trigger, like all of that is emotions go flying forward based on the original experience.
Like a knee-jerk reaction, basically.
That's another way to describe it, because people describe it in multiple ways.
Exactly.
It's all the same in a sense, though. So, what the trauma is, the original experience that you had. That's the actual trauma. Whatever caused you to get to a trigger. The trauma is the original experience. And if you never heal through that experience, you go through these processes of triggers that bring you back to the experience, but you're reacting based on what's currently happening.
Got it.
Right? Because it's like if like animals don't like thunderstorms.
True. That's right.
One time they have an experience and it just is too loud. It doesn't matter how mild this thunderstorm is. Every time they feel the energy of a thunderstorm, they're like nervous and anxious.
Like fireworks.
Fireworks for
fireworks
people,
are a great example of that with pets.
for human beings as well, because people are triggered by that as well. That's trigger. A trigger comes from a traumatic experience that you had. It could be here for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Some people die with the same triggers and traumas unhealed, and they pass them on to their children and grandchildren.
Generational trauma.
Very much so, because if you take it, if you go to the grave with it all, while you were here, your trauma and triggers was being viewed by your family unit, because you weren't accessing healthy ways to deal with whatever it is you've been through.
Question. Good you said that, because now that basically brings another question. Those trauma, the trauma that happens in most families, especially African American families, where we're sitting at that dinner table at the holidays when all of the family gathers, or the family reunion, and those family secrets come up to the table that should not come to the table in accordance to the person who would get triggered by that. Is that why most of our community tends to take stuff to the grave, because we don't want to resurface that? Or would it be seen as running from it in a sense?
Culturally, we just private people. We didn't like our business in the street. Things were handled within the family unit, and that was good and bad, right? Because if someone had a mental health issue, you do need to get them to a professional to get them evaluated and determine if they need medication or just therapy, right? But we weren't doing that in our community. We were just brushing it to the side and saying, that's just how Tim act. That's just how Stephanie act. Knowing or unknowingly that this is a mental health issue, right? We just swept it all under the rug and kept it moving. I had my grandmother who passed away, I think it was 2017, 2018. Her mother, my great-grandmother took to her grave who my grandmother's father was. My grandmother asked for that for decades and years. My great-grandmother literally took her last breath and never told my grandmother who this man was.
Wow.
So it's like a whole piece of the family tree gone, right? But think about that. Taking it to the grave in our community was a normal thing. No, I'm going to just say all of my kids, people have 3, 4, 5. I'll just say all that's all they father, right? And it could only be 2 of the kids' father. And the kids down the road meet people and they like, wait a minute, you look like such and such. And then things come up in the community. All this stuff, we sweep everything under the rug, and it's completely unhealthy. And it's because generationally, when you go back and go back and go back, we had to keep things quiet because they broke us up from our country. They broke us up from our friends and our family. So everything had to be done in secret. There was no help to go ask for. So it passes on that way until people like me and my family are breaking all the generational curses. Now, I didn't ask for this. Maybe I did spiritually, because when you come down here, you definitely come down here with a mission. But the goal is to have a better, more healthy and open dialogue with my children so that they know that there is other options for help out here. Us being closed up as a community comes from just how we were brought here, our ancestors were brought here, how they were dealt with, how they were treated. You know, people go to hospital and doctors today and tell them what's going on in our community. The doctors act like they don't even hear what you're saying. You got to go in there with an advocate, which we did a whole show about that. So it's like if you don't have someone that can speak the language of the doctors, they almost don't listen to you. They think they calling you hypochondriac and all other things. And, you know, some people actually go get sent home and die because they not being heard. So our community and holding things in and keeping it within a family unit was a way of our survival, not letting people know into our internal unit, because we don't know who to trust, who's going to harm, who's going to tell on us. Because, you know, you had what they call the Uncle Toms. They call, I don't know what they call them now, but when they did, they would, you know, they would snitch on the people who wanted to get away.
It,
yeah. So keeping that stuff quiet was important. And it was, things getting exposed brought shame not only to the person involved, but all the family. So the family took on the full shame of an incident. So that's why things stay quiet, you know. Even with health, people be suffering. I had an uncle who had been diagnosed with cancer, decided he was not going to tell anyone, decided he was not going to get any treatment.
Wow.
And we didn't find out till his deathbed that's what was going on. The cancer had just moved through his whole body. He was walking on the cane. Why my uncle on the cane when nobody knows? It's because the cancer is hardening in his body and it's causing his limbs not to work. So it's like all of that kind of stuff. Those are the generational curses that we need to break. Like open dialogue, communicating about your health, and as I always say, and I feel like I have to say every show, creating a safe space for people to be able to express those things. Whether you know anything about it, whether you believe it or not, give a person a space to speak what's going on with them or their mind. If they're trying to come to you as a confidant, or just sometimes you just got to listen. It's not always a need to respond to what's going on. Listen. And then if you can offer up some other support, do that. And if you don't, do a little research and say, hey, I was looking into this. This may help you. Check this out. You know, it's like it's a supportive way to help someone get into a new routine to deal with whatever it is that they just explained to you, whatever it is they experience that they probably never had an in-depth conversation with someone about. Those are moments of healing.
Yes.
A lot of people miss the mark. Why? Because they need the same kind of healing. They don't even know how to be present for somebody like that. Come to Coach Lanell. I got some healing for you. Y'all need that.
Y'all better go to Coach Lanell.
Y'all need some healing.
Y'all should be calling her up right now during this broadcast. But anyway, with that being said, and you know, it's interesting you say that, because that circles right back around to the healing portion. Sometimes you have to go ahead and address things. It's not even a sometimes. You have to go and address these things head on. You have to take them head on. And the person who's receiving that has to take it head on, because it takes a lot for a person to be open, especially if they're coming to you. There's a lot of trust behind that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of energy to be able to trust the person you are speaking to be like, look, I haven't said anything about this, but we're going to talk about it amongst us.
Yeah.
Had to deal with that. And that it was one key thing from you mentioned your grandmother. Now my grandmother, who just had a heavenly birthday pass, she did not take anything to the grave. She always was direct about a lot of things. But there was one thing that I had to get off of my chest with the rest of the family. And once I got it off my chest, and so this is very interesting, because the first thing was, you tell the first person and they're receptive. They give you the receptive energy. That receptive energy gives you the safe space, as you were just speaking of, to, okay, all right, I'm now comfortable to say how I feel and what it is directly without sugarcoating anything or trying to talk around it.
Right.
No, I could be as direct as I can and be like, look, I didn't feel good about this. It's okay to say I was upset with such and such about this. I was upset with this situation.
Yeah, and people don't like confrontation.
Yeah.
So with that, and the second piece of that is people who worry about other people first are more concerned about how the other person is going to feel receiving the information versus how they're feeling holding on to the information or holding on to the experience.
Exactly.
So it's twofold because of that. It's an uncomfortable space, right?
It is.
When you don't want to confront something but you have to for your own well-being.
Correct.
Because it's like you could say nothing, but you're suffering. So it's okay to speak to it. And guess what? Just know that you speaking to it could change all the dynamics. All of them. And I think that's another reason where there's fear that comes in. I don't want to lose my family. I don't want them to stop speaking to me, or I don't want to tell on the person that I had the experience with because that's going to cause a rift. But you are already going through it by yourself, and there's people here that could support it, but you haven't even opened the door to try to see what direction it could go in. It's important to just do it for you.
Yes.
And what you have to do is accept that it could go really well or it could go really wrong.
Interesting you said that. It went extremely well, and it got me over a hurdle that had been sifting there for 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
15. A decade and a half you're speaking of.
Right.
And you're finally able to address it and become in a comfortable space to address it. After that, okay, I see what's happening. Then there is a shift in energy.
Yeah, that's so.
A
It was
whole shift.
You were able to transmute the experience. So
Right.
when you transmute that energy, it doesn't go away. It just recycles, and now it's open. So now that you've opened up your energy and probably lifted your frequency, because that thing is not sitting on you and stopping you, like I say, spiritual constipation. So now you're attracting more things to you because you've elevated some. And it's important that you have to do that, because in those lower vibrations, you continue to bring to you things that you don't want, things that you have no desire for in your life. And people sit down and they say to themselves, why me? Why does this keep happening? And all those things that people like to repeat to themselves. Or that word, the BROKE word, which I don't even say. You see, I had to spell it because I don't want none of that in my energy. So when you say that stuff over and over, you're cycling yourself into these experiences, because that's what you believe.
Exactly. I had to take a lot of words out of my vocabulary that were hindering the process of growth rather than helping the process of growth. Mm-hmm. And once I did that along this journey, it became a lot different. And when I say a lot different, meaning more gravitational pull to you, people wanting to know who are you, people wanting to know why do you work so hard? Why is your work ethic like this? I'm interested in knowing what you do. You do this so well. How can I do the same thing? They become inspired by you, and now you're pulling in this. You're the radiant energy that everyone wants to see in the room. And I've experienced that too. This has been the back end as well, where you have this. Your walk is different. Your mindset is different. Mm-hmm. Your whole energy is different, and everybody gravitates towards you. And I want to ask this, and I know this is a little bit of a jog, but it's still here. So along this journey, you start to open your mind up to different things. You start having a mind of discernment, a heavier mind of discernment when it comes to a female coming up to me and saying, "Hey, I'm interested in you." You're not serious. Get out of here. All right, I say hello to you every day, but you're not serious. You can call their bluff right then and there.
Yes.
And then a person that you work with, they act like they want to be around you, but in the background they're talking about you. I'm like, yeah, you're not that dude. You ain't worth. You really ain't worth the conversation, but I'm still gonna speak because that is what I do. I'm a polite person. I'm not gonna disrespect you, but stay from around.
I'm gonna watch you though.
What?
I'm gonna watch you, but I'm gonna be cordial with you.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's your intuition being more in tune.
Exactly.
So you being more aware, you catch things in an instant versus down the road when you've gone through hell and high water and you're like they like to say, red flags that you act like you didn't see. So, right. Like we all been in certain experiences like that where you're like, red flag. All right, maybe not. Red flag. That's not that bad. Another red flag. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So then you go through all this and then you're traumatized in the end with this experience with this person because you saw the red flags, but you made a choice to keep pushing through because we can choose in whatever direction we go.
So when it comes to the energy, the big question is, what brings about that energy to put you in tune with that particular part of self that you did not have that heightened sense from or heightened sense of before? Why now?
That's called being in the world but not of the world. And it's you being in your spiritual energy more than your mental and emotional energy and your ego. So your mental and emotional energy and egos coupled in there is going to have you doing things in a certain way. But when you get in your spirit, that's the truth. And the more you get into your spirit, your frequency goes up and you can hear clearer spiritually.
That's what that is.
Yes. Because that's the shortest version of me explaining that, right? So
I feel that.
Yeah, your ears hear differently when you deeper in your spirit versus when you in your mental and emotional energy only.
Absolutely.
In your ego. You hear so differently. Someone in their ego has no idea. It could be God themselves standing in front of you and they would be disrespectful to that person, but someone in the spirit and in their intuition understands there's something enlightened about this homeless person who look like they don't have nothing. There's something about their spirit.
Yeah.
And you connect to that with each individual you encounter with no judgment versus mental and emotional ego is going to have you judging.
Oh man, you're speaking to me this evening, right? And I'm asking these questions in not just to give you progress on my journey, as I'm still in progress, as we are all still in progress of our own journeys, but also the why, the who, what, where, when, why, the major questions of, or you can add how. How does this happen? A lot of people are trying to figure out so much the how that they don't notice that their heightened sense of the spirit is right in front of them. They don't notice.
It's right inside of them.
It's right inside of them. Well, either way, still.
But they're always seeking outside gratification versus going internal with the healing. And as you move through the healing, you hear clearer as well. All the clairs, as they call it, they become clearer. The smell, the hearing, the seeing, those are your spiritual clairs, right? You can hear physically, but you can also hear spiritually. You can see physically, but you can also see spiritually. So those gifts heighten in some people. Most people have one. Some people have multiple. Some people have all of them, right? Just in tune in a different way. Those people spend a lot of time by themselves. They separate themselves because it's too much sensitivity when you have all the clairs. But that's an outcome of, I wouldn't say consequence, that was what almost came out, an outcome of that expansion. It allows you to be more in tune to that. And it's important that there's guides and enlightened people on the earth that can help people get to the space and help them understand what it is. In layman's terms, y'all, I could talk real high level spiritual conversations, which this is anyway, but I want to speak on a level that the majority can understand. Mm-hmm. That's why I share my journey, to help y'all understand what I've done. I'm not speaking this just because I went and took a class or a course, or I've been, certified as this, that, and the other. I've done that as well. But I'm speaking to you because I did these things for myself, and they actually truly brought the healing that I needed, that brought me to the space where I want to give it back and help people know that there is a way, regardless of how much trauma you've been through. It just take you having the right people around you to support you in your healing journey. Not just in your life journey, your healing journey, because we all have had traumas that we are learning about and trying to heal from, and then you utilize that energy to really get where we want to be. And people always say, delayed, I'm behind. You're not delayed or behind. Delayed doesn't mean denied. It just ain't the right time.
Yeah.
And when the right time come, you're going to get exactly what you need, It's
interesting that you say that, because talking about your journey, it really gives me a heightened sense of what I need to do going further in my journey. All of our journeys are different. It's a different walk. It's a different vibe.
Yes.
But, and just to add to that, one thing that I now call me time is mental exercise. Mm-hmm. It can be different things. It could be mental exercise, meditation exercise, what have you. Whatever your me time is, it's for you.
Yes.
And I had to find that out the hard way in order to move along this journey. Put things in the routine that allow you to be you.
Right. There's only one you.
There's only one you. And if you've been pouring out so much that your cup has been emptied out, and it's been emptied out for the longest, to where the cup is now disintegrating into pieces before your very eyes.
It's so dry, y'all. It's so dry. It's falling apart.
It's so dry. It is falling apart. Like, you can't even drink out of it. You try to pour anything in it, it's going right through.
Absolutely.
That's a wrap, homie. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So,
and such. We gonna wrap it up for today, y'all.
Speaking of rap.
Hey, speaking of the rap.
But before we wrap, just for my final thoughts, just whatever you do, folks, please be in tune and get you some me time in your life. That mental exercise is key. When you get into that mental exercise, whatever that is, for me, it's walks in the park, but for you, it might be something different. Please take the time to put that in for yourself. You don't know how much you need it until you really need it. Don't let it be too late for you to find this out. Coach Lanell, your final thoughts.
Walk in your truth and take some time for you. I'm going to, piggyback on what Rob said, like that quality time that you take for yourself, by yourself, is going to be the thing that's going to take you through each and every day. I have me time, solo, just me. And each day I have to do it every day. It's not I do it every couple days. It don't work like that. Just like meditation. So take that me time, meditate with it, work out with it, sit with it, sing with it, dance with it, whatever you want to do. Just let it be about you and bringing you some kind of joy.
Absolutely. Where can we find you, follow you, connect with you, and get that healing?
I'm on Threads, y'all. Check me out on Threads. Coach_Lanell. I'm on Threads. I'm on Instagram. Lightweight on Facebook. But y'all know you can catch me every Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern on Androgynous Energy.
Absolutely.
So thank you for being here today, Rob.
Absolutely.
Coach Jarvis, we missed you, but see, we made it happen. We made it do what it do. But thanks everybody for coming out.
And of course, when you can follow Coach Jarvis. Make sure you follow Passion Purpose Coaching, and go ahead and get the book Paradigm Shift Marathon of the Mindset as well on Amazon. Go ahead and pick that up, because that book will change your life. I'm not on this journey until I have read that book, and I mean page for page. So please, it would be great of you to change your life through that book and shift your paradigm. So go ahead and follow Passion Purpose Coaching and all of that. And I am the Green Machine, filling in for my brother, Coach Jarvis.